Unmute your voice. Welcome. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and you can be more engaging. No charisma, flashy earrings, or hair dye required. That's what we're talking about today. If you've ever seen eyes glaze over while you're talking, this session is for you. Welcome. Drop a note in the comments. Let me know you're here. I can welcome you personally by name. So, why this matters, why I'm giving this session today, because whether you're leading a meeting, teaching a class, working with clients, hosting a live event, perhaps on LinkedIn, wherever you're speaking, whenever you're speaking, holding attention is part of your job. And you're not a magician. In fact, you don't need to be a magician. You just need tools that actually work. That's what we're talking about today. And as I'm welcoming people in here, let's just set this up a little bit and I'll remind you again. Holding attention's not about being flashy, it's about being intentional. Intentional. That's what we're talking about today. That's why I'm glad you're here. And just go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know if you're live. Say hello. I'd love to see you. We're streaming on 3 channels today. So, yippee! It's a good day. It's a good day. Everything is flowing. So I'm glad to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'll go ahead and type a message too. Welcome. There we go. All right. But who am I and why should you listen to me? That is an excellent question. Hi, if we haven't met before, I'm Elizabeth Miller, and I show leaders how to go from sounding rehearsed to sounding real and magnetic, especially in live, high visibility situations like LinkedIn Live or a in-person presentation. So if you want to grow your presence and get your message across clearly, you're in the right place. You are in the right place, and I'm glad you're here. I wonder though, tell me, what's the toughest crowd you've ever had to speak to or try and engage? So, the toughest situation, the toughest crowd. Go ahead and drop that in the comments while I'm getting things set up today, set up for our session today. I'm just checking the comments again. Right in the beginning, I find it sometimes the comments don't come through right away. So it takes me a little extra minute, as if the beginning of a session is when you have time for that, right? I'll have to talk to the tech folk. Anyway, so glad you're here. What's the toughest crowd you've ever had to speak to? I know um, for me, I've had two stories I can think of that were really challenging. One was more of a technical issue when the power went out. So I was giving a presentation in front of a large group of people with slides, with a microphone, with lights, and suddenly all the lights went out, everything went out. So that was really challenging. But I we made it through, we stayed engaged, and I'm sharing some of those tips and lessons I learned with you today. The second situation for me that was most challenging in my life when I think back, um, was, sometimes it's tech stuff, sometimes it's the content. If I'm not feeling confident or clear about the content, that can be challenging because I'm so focused on what I'm saying rather than engaging with the audience. That's a big challenge I find for myself and clients. And the third challenge, the biggest challenge I faced was 7-year-olds. The attention span of a goldfish. But hopefully you're not doing that for work or, I mean, for sales. Maybe you're a teacher. Anyway, let's jump into this. Let's jump into this. I see some comments coming in. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. Glad to have you with us live. Go ahead and type live or say, hi, Elizabeth. Let me see your comments because I can see you coming into the room. I see numbers, but I don't see your name, and I'd love to welcome you personally. Great. So let's talk about what you get today. So why are you here and why should you stick around? Today you're going to walk away with practical strategies for even the toughest situations to stop the scroll if you're in a digital situation or reset attention, either digitally or in person, even mid talk. So it's not just like, oh, I lost them, game over. We're going to talk about today how you can reset, get back in the groove, get that attention back, and have people focused. And keep your listeners with you until the end. Keep your listeners with you. That's what you're going to get today. And I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump in here. We're going to get to the slides. Now, we've already seen kind of the main point today, which is about, keeping attention, maintaining attention. Holding attention isn't about being flashy. So I'm not here saying you need to bling, 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 be obnoxious or become someone you're not. That's key. It's about being intentional. This is what we're focused on today, how to be intentional and not a blah, blah, blah situation. We're getting practical, we're getting clear. The first thing we need to set the foundation, the first thing we need to be ultra clear about is that distractions are normal. Even before the age of AI, before the age of social media, people were distracted. This is a long time thing. Yes, we're getting more and more distracted. It's getting more and more complicated, but they are normal. Distractions are normal. We're not going to get rid of them. But do remember, these are not determiners of your fate. Distractions aren't in control. We want to get you in the driver's seat so you can make those decisions where people are putting their focus and their attention when you're speaking. So let's get into it. So distractions are normal. Why does this matter? Why am I pointing at this out such a high degree? Honestly, we live in a world designed, it is designed to pull our attention in every direction. I'm visiting my family in the US right now, and I'm overwhelmed with the increase in the amount of distractions. When I was pumping my gas, there were personalized advertisements coming at me by sound, by vision. I mean, I'm just waiting for 3D stuff to pop out at me. Even the actual tube for the gas pump had an advertisement stuck on it. So it was really, we live in a world that is designed to distract us, to grab our attention and pull us away. But that doesn't mean you're powerless as a speaker or as a listener. So think about when giving a speech, giving a presentation, when engaging with clients, trying to give an elevator pitch in an elevator. What are some common triggers that cause people to tune out? What are common triggers that cause you to tune out? Like one, bum bum, bum bum. Okay, definitely cell phones. So if you can get in a situation where cell phones are removed, or if you can get in a situation where there's not as much happening around you, visually, verbally, auditorily, if we can decrease the amount of distractions, this is always a plus because then you have less to work against. You have fewer things to work against, which is, just makes your life easier. So you want to always consider common triggers that make people tune out. What are things that demand our attention? Emergencies, for sure. When the power went out, if a fire alarm goes off, these are things we can't remove or we don't want to. However, you can absolutely know how to respond and say, whoa, this is happening. What do we do in these situations? Come with me. You can still put yourself in a leadership role in the center of focus and guide people to go with you, right? Keeping that attention, being intentional about that rather than pulling back and saying, this sucks. Actually, in those situations, I've seen people do this. They still have my attention because my focus was on the speaker. However, they put my attention in a very negative place. So be intentional. Where do you want people to focus? And how to have that leadership presence, that We want to present as a person who's reputable and worth our attention. So definitely going into a situation, think about common triggers, think about common distractions. Be prepared for what could happen. If you're teaching or speaking to a group of parents and the children will be there, consider this first. Don't be surprised if they're distracted by their children. Rather, distract the children, give the children this common space, give them something worth their attention. So, think about attention design. Just a few minutes can make a difference when you're giving a presentation. Second thing is to cut the clutter yourself. To cut the clutter yourself. This is the thing I work with my clients a lot. And this often comes as a surprise. So, this is a bit of a golden nugget I'm handing out to you right now. A little gift from me to you is to cut the clutter both visually and verbally when you're speaking. So, what do I mean by that? Visual clutter. For example, what could be visual clutter? If I have a lot of distracting things on my person, on my body, in my hands, if I'm carrying an umbrella, you would maybe wonder, why is she carrying an umbrella? Why does she have an umbrella in this session? It's distracting. Maybe not for long, maybe not obnoxiously, but it's a distraction, right? That's clutter. That's clutter. Many people keep their mic in the screen when speaking or presenting on YouTube. This can be an intentional choice. It's not a wrong choice, but it should be an intentional choice, giving a message that I'm doing something tech oriented or something involved with mics. If you're not, why have it there? Why not remove it? Have it off screen and clear the clutter. It's a little bit like decluttering your house, right? Another thing to consider is nervous tics or wiggles or things you might do that could be distracting people. All right, so we want to clear the clutter. I have a question. It's always important, obviously, to think about what we do when speaking, when presenting, whether it's in a meeting, in a personal conversation. A lot of social things coming up right now because it's summer. So this stuff works socially too, not only professionally. But it's also important to think about your own brain, your own brain. And I want to ask you to drop this in the comments. When do you tend to lose focus in a conversation when you're talking to someone? What is it? I mean, I'm guessing probably not the tech, because in a conversation, there's probably not a lot of tech involved. Is it the content? Is there something happening content wise? Or is it distractions? Distractions from outside, your phone, you're thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner, responsibilities, or distractions from the person who's speaking. Is that distracting? I think it is. Think about that. When do you tend to lose focus? These are questions that can really unlock our own thinkings. That's why I like to drop them in here. Even if you're listening on the replay, go ahead, hashtag replay, drop that comment there. I will see it and respond. So I'm here to keep this conversation going. Excellent. It's always important to think about not only what we're learning, what we want to improve, but we also want to think about, how do we see the world? How do we interact? Because sometimes that data is more convincing. So again, to reiterate, to repeat that, distractions are normal. They're not evil, they're normal, but they are not the deciders of your fate. You need to get in that driver's seat. We want to put you in control. We talked about a few ways to prepare for that. Okay, how to prepare, how to limit the number of distractions, decrease the number of distractions, and how to deal with and manage the ones that do come along, because you can do this. Now, point number 2, we're going to get next step deeper and talk about specifics of how to do that. Specifics of how to do that. And the first thing, whoops, oh, you got to see number 3. Woo, that was a distraction. So, specifics of how to do this, and this is key. You can reset. You can reset at any point in a conversation, presentation. You can reset. And this is a key mindset shift because many people, when they're speaking, when they start speaking, they keep pushing through even when they lose their audience. And I have to say, this is a mistake. Don't keep going. Sometimes I see people do this, and it's a little bit like watching a slow train wreck. Ugh, please call us back. Get our attention. Engage with us. Give us a reason to listen. Give us a reason to tune in. And this can be, again, digitally or in person. I've experienced both quite a few times, quite a few times. So let's figure out how you don't make this mistake because you can reset attention even mid talk, even mid sentence. So here are the practical steps about how you can do this. One, learn the signs. So we're going to open our eyes, we're going to open our ears, we're going to open the chats. Look at the chats mid presentation, even in a live presentation or a Zoom call or Google Meet, whatever tools you're using. Learn the signs that your audience has checked out or gotten distracted. This is true for large audience, mid-size audience, or even one-on-one. Even one-on-one. So learn the signs. A few that I can mention that I see is one, eye contact. Eyes are wandering, brains are wandering. Hands. If I see someone doing this, it doesn't take much to guess what's happening, right? Okay. Another one is even just facial expression. If people are engaged, if people are interested, if people are listening and interacting with you, when you get to certain key points or key insights, there should be a visual response. Leaning forward, small eyebrow. If it's a big audience and you're far away or the lighting spotlights on you, you won't be able to see subtle cues like that. But you can listen for responses, verbal responses, clapping responses. You can ask for it. Like, if this has happened to you, say yes. If you know what I'm talking about, clap your hands, right? Stand up, sit down. You can ask for physical responses. Okay. Not only does this give you feedback for yourself, but this also helps them stay engaged, stay awake. It's hard to stand up, sit down with a phone in your hand and distracted. Why do you think they do it in church so much? They've had a bit of experience of keeping people engaged, I think. What do you think? All right. So we're going to move forward here. Oh, I just saw. Okay, YouTube, you're good. You're good. Just checking again for chats. Welcome, welcome. I see people coming in live. Love to have you here. So glad to have you here live. It really means a lot to me. Now we're going to talk about, I see those thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate all that love from you. So we're going to talk about different ways you can keep people engaged. And I'll give you two examples of people who I've seen do this extremely well. Two people who've done this extremely well. In fact, let's jump into the stories first. Stories are fun. The first one is a professor I have at university. His name is Mark Chupp, and he had an especially challenging situation. He was teaching a weekend class. So we were there Friday night. All those thumbs up. Love it, love it, love it. Go ahead and leave a comment so I can call out your name and welcome you. And thank you personally. So he had an especially challenging situation. He had a bunch of 17 to 21-year-olds on the weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and I think Sunday as well. So like hours and hours weekend class. This is prime recipe situation for distraction, for boredom, for zoning out. And yet he was able to keep us engaged. How did he do it? One, he checked his content, put it in small chunks, bite-sized fun-sized pieces for our brain so that we could stay with him and not become overwhelmed or lost in the content. The second thing he did that was amazing, he had us get physically involved in the content. We were standing up, we were changing desks, we were getting into groups, we were working alone, we were working in pairs and fours and sharing our thoughts and sharing questions before sharing with the group. So having us physically involved in the content. Excellent idea, which we already talked about a little bit. And the third thing he did, which was totally awesome, is he had light and livelies. These were things he called for when he noticed we were zoning out. He also encouraged us, because I think it was 3 or 4 weekends in the whole semester. So we had a lot of time together. He encouraged us when we felt we were zoning out, when we felt the content was too much, when we felt we needed a reset, we could also ask for a light and lively. And these were physical activities, games, challenges that he had prepared ahead of time that we would do. We could get excited about, move around, make posters. There were all sorts of different things and challenges we could do that were short, engaging activities to reset our brain, reset our body. And yet they each had a learning component. Brilliant. So not taking us completely off topic, but they tended to be a little more silly, a little more engaging for a different side of our brain. Great. The other person I want to talk about is Bushra. You might have seen her online. She's an online provider for persuasion. She sells products about persuasion. And she does a lot of hand clapping and demands response in the comments and rewards it. She will pay $100 or a free product or something. She always, or often, I've seen her often do it. And she's like, hello, come on, focus. Give me your attention. Don't be as distracted. Tell me, tell me, tell me. I want to know. Different approaches for different audiences, different crowds, different people. So know your audience. Know your audience. She's a little bit more flashy than I tend to be personally, but it's about matching your audience and your personality. Who are you? Now, so I've given two examples of people, and it's about how to use contrast, how to change things up. This is the key takeaway here. So, one, learn the signs that your audience has checked out, and two, use contrast. You can change your tone, your pace, or ask a question. Do something to change it up. Some people like to use props and will bring something up and talk about their thing. Other people will just take a pause, which gives the audience a moment to think, to look up, refocus, to process what's already been said. Use contrast to get attention back. Now I want to ask you, because I've given two specific stories of people I seen use these skills really well. Have you ever seen someone win a room back? So after they've lost the crowd, after they've lost the attention, how have you seen someone win a room back? I'd love to know about that, either in a private message, direct message, depending on where you're watching me, or in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you and tell me what you've seen out in the wild, right? Tell me what you've seen out in the wild, because this is important too. So that is point number two. That's point number two. You can reset at any time. In the middle of your talk, every 3 minutes in your talk. It depends on, again, your context. What's the audience? What are the distractions? What are you dealing with? And this one you've already had a preview. But again, point three, leadership presence is your secret weapon. Leadership presence. This is something I work with my clients a lot. Leadership presence is so important, especially now and especially online. People are hungry for it. People are looking for leadership presence. So, what is leadership presence, and how can you do it? How can you get it? It is your secret weapon. It is not volume. It's not being the loudest in the room. It's not being the flashiest in the room. It's not about being obnoxious. It's about being calm, focused, and centered. It's not about knowing all the answers. It's not about being the bossiest or the most controlling. Often, it's about leaning in, listening, and being curious, and then guiding people with that calm centeredness once you know what's going on. Why does this matter? This matters because people feel your energy before they even hear your words. Before you open your mouth, they can feel, are you nervous? Are you insecure? Are you uncomfortable? Are you unsure? And you might say, but Elizabeth, what if I am insecure? What if I am unsure? What if I don't know the answer? You just said I didn't have to know. Exactly. Calm down. Take a minute, take a breath, and I'm going to guide you through this. And this might be the most valuable piece of information I'm sharing today. So lean in, lean in. Oh, Michelle, I just noticed your comment here. Storytelling always brings people back. 100%. Storytelling. Paint a picture with your words. Welcome us into another scene, another setting. Absolutely. Besides, humans, we love stories, right? We're like, our brains are hardwired for stories. And Michelle, I'm so glad you're here and joining the conversation. I appreciate that. Always love having you in the crowd. And speaking having a crowd, Michelle is hosting a live event next week on the 15th of July. Don't miss it. Click, connect with her, network with her, and get in on that. It's a leadership lab. So good. Okay. Back to our regular scheduled program, please. Thank you. So, where were we? People feel your energy before you even speak. And if you're concerned and you're worried and you say, "But Elizabeth, I'm not sure. I'm not clear about what I'm going to say. How can I be leadership presence?" You may be unsure about that specific question or that specific situation or in that exact moment because of this other thing that's happening. But there are a lot of other things you can feel secure, calm, and centered about. Everyone's good at something. What are you good at? What's your track record? What are you bringing to the table already that we can base this foundation of leadership presence on, right? Are people looking to you as a leader yet? Think about that. Why? Why for you specifically? I don't want to give you generic answers, but if you don't feel that yet or you don't see that yet, send me a DM. We can talk through it and kind of get into your specific situation. Or maybe you say, look, I'm a really good writer, or I'm really good at this technical aspect, or I know about, maybe you're a good perceiver and you're like, I know how this crowd is responding. I know who's paying attention and who's not. This is a super skill. This is a super skill a lot of people don't have. So, whatever it is that you are secure about, you do feel confident about, anchor yourself there before you speak. All right? We want to anchor your foundation before speaking, before jumping to conclusions, before flying off the handle. And use stillness and pauses for power. Someone who is anchored, someone who is clear, someone who is confident isn't floundering around and people feel your energy before you speak. And that is a filter people will hear your words through. Use this to your advantage. This is 100% true. You can probably think of people who seem calm, who seem centered. And Always speak from a place of centeredness. Irony is, they get asked for advice way more, disproportionately more than other people. Whether or not their advice is good, they get asked for advice way more. So anchor yourself before you speak. Use stillness and pauses for power and connect with your message and connect with others. All right. So you want to connect with the people, connect with your message. I might even challenge you to connect with your message before connecting with others. Okay. Make sure you're clear about what you want to say and why you want to say it. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it valuable? And is it hurtful? If it's any of those, I mean, I can't say yes or no. But we want to have it not be hurtful. We want it to be helpful, true, and valuable. Move forward. That's a green light. Three green lights. Okay. I want to tell a story. Speaking of stories, thank you, Michelle. I want to tell a story about one of my clients who was or is still technically outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Just really confident, clear, secure, a lot of experience, has done a lot of work, very clear about the technical aspect of her work. But when she spoke, when she reached out to others, when we surveyed and asked around with coworkers and clients, no one felt anything. Okay. No one thought of her as a leader, as a person to go to for advice or guidance or security, even though she was outstanding and actually the exact person they should go to, especially for this technical advice and support. So we started working on her presence, her leadership presence, setting that foundation of confidence, getting her to connect with her message before she speaks, getting her to focus and believe in what she's saying so that others can as well. So once we worked on her leadership presence, everything changed. Not only did people start heeding her advice, listening to her advice when she gave it, because before they wouldn't. They wouldn't. She almost had to tell someone else to tell them, and it was very complicated and inefficient. So not only were people listening to her advice, but they were coming to her for advice. And she just got a promotion last month. So, yes, that's what I call a win. That's what I call a win. So leadership presence matters. People feel your energy before they even hear your words. Don't believe me? Don't think it's true? Let's go into your data set here in your brain, in your memory. Tell me who's someone you can't help but pay attention to. When you hear their voice, when you know they're going to speak, when you know they're talking, and your brain's just whoosh, full on focus. Who's someone you can't help but pay attention to, and why? Why is that? Ooh, careful, knocking my table around. Think about that. Who is someone you can't help but pay attention to? Again, feel free to drop that in the comments, send me a private message as you wish. And I'll answer it myself. My mom. My mom. If she's in a room speaking, it's like no matter what I'm trying to do, no matter what I'm trying to focus on, my brain, I I can't help but I have to listen. I am hardwired to listen to my mom's voice. It was amazing. I was teaching a group of people. This was years ago. She came to visit me in Vienna and she was in the room, but she wasn't part of the project we were working on. And we were doing group work. So there was a lot of noise going on. A lot of people were talking and people were asking me questions to how we were doing this specific task. And she was talking to someone else way in the corner of the room, and I just couldn't keep my focus, and I had to say, "Mom, I'm so sorry, but could you please, um, mm, could you please be a little quiet for a little bit?" Yeah, it was hilarious, but That's a different situation, probably. But who is someone you can't help but pay attention to? Or maybe not. She is someone I've come over years and years and years and years, repeated exposure, learn to love and trust. Know, like, and trust, right? Moms are a different level. I love her. Love her. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent work today. Good. I'm getting some comments in different channels. That's why I have to click around a little bit. But again, just to conclude and wrap things up here, I want to come back to our slide for number 3. Leadership presence is your secret weapon. Don't forget it and don't leave it at home, right? Now, oh my goodness, what is happening here? Okay. Welcome back, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, to conclude, whether you're leading a meeting, making a deal, teaching a class, hosting a live event, having a conversation, negotiating a contract, whatever you're doing, holding attention is part of your job. Holding attention is part of your job. And that's why we're talking about it. That's why we're diving into it today. That's why this is important. It's not about being flashy, it's about being intentional because distractions will happen. Distractions will happen. You're not failing, it's not your fault. Distractions will happen. But with the right tools, you can stay in charge of the room. You can be in that driver's seat. So let's talk. Tell me quickly in the chats, or you can set up a call and talk to me about it. Which situations are hardest for you to stay present or hold attention? Right. So as a speaker, sometimes the distractions in the room get so much, it's hard for the speaker to stay present. I mean, that's like worst case scenario. But which situations are hardest for you as a listener, as a speaker, to stay present or hold attention of others? Which situations are hardest for you? For me, I can tell you that straight up when I'm tired. When I'm sleepy, when I'm tired, it is so hard. It is so hard. It's like showing up without preparation. It is really hard. That's another time. So no preparation when I'm tired. It's just that's why sleeping is part of my preparation. Learning by screwing up. Yeah, learning by making mistakes. Excellent. So what are those situations that are hardest for you to hold attention, to win attention back, to keep attention? Let me know either here in the comments or in a DM. We can talk about it together. And just as a quick preview, I welcome you during this month of July. I'm hosting live events every single Thursday. So the next one is July 17th, the LinkedIn live event, the YouTube event, Instagram, I can't put it up early, but they're already posted. So you can pre register, set your alarms, ding the bell, check the box, do all the things, leave a comment, tell me you're excited, drop your questions, specific questions I love the best because I can respond to them. And join me next week, either live or on the replay, always an option. And next week, this one's really, 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 really a good one. If you're great in your head, but ramble when it comes to speaking or lose your words completely, this next session is for you. In the next session, I'll show you exactly how to structure your ideas so they'll land clearly without sounding robotic. That's the time I tune out. If someone sounds robotic or hides behind their notes, right? We don't want that. So, we're going to be talking more about the specific content next week. Today we were focusing more on, the mindset of getting people to pay attention. What can I do when this happens? What's in my toolkit? Next week, we're talking about your structure and content so you can connect, deliver, persuade, inspire action. So this is key during interviews. Okay. So not just prepared stuff where you're reading from your notes, but when you're thinking on the spot, extemporaneous speaking, impromptu speaking, when you're under pressure, critical meetings, anytime your words truly matter. Okay. If someone calls you out, how are you going to respond? How are you going to keep cool with that leadership presence and speak well? Okay, this is key. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how to sound human and professional. That's a good idea. We're going to talk about a framework to get to the point without scrambling for words, without losing your way, without getting lost or sounding robotic. We don't want any of those things. And the third thing we're going to talk about is what to cut and what to keep when speaking live. We talked a little bit about that today about distractions and decluttering visually, decluttering with sounds, and we're going to talk about decluttering your content. How to declutter your content next Thursday, same time, same channel. So that is 5 p.m. if you're in Vienna, if you're in Central European time, Central European summertime, or 11 a.m. East Coast USA. That's July 17th. Join me live to help unmute your voice. Unmute your voice next week. So glad to have you here. Share, care, comment. Love to have you part of the community. Thanks for joining. See you next week. Ciao.